Kavanaugh's wife breaks her silence to make shocking statement about accuser's claim. As confirmation vote for President Donald Trump's most recent Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh continues to be delayed with 11th-hour Hail Mary 35-year-old accusations of alleged sexual assault from the self-proclaimed resistance. In what appears to be the standard accusation to break out anytime a conservative or Republican is nominated for a position of any import, the left did not disappoint. Republican cowardice has made the current Kavanaugh debacle possible, and that same cowardice has sustained it. Democrats complain that GOP leadership is bullying Kavanaugh accuser, Blasey Ford, yet the facts clearly show that to not be the case. After spending the last week groveling at the feet of Blasey Ford, making concession after concession, either pleading with her to come to Congress and tell her unsubstantiated and unverified story of supposed misconduct. A story with so many holes one could drive a truck through it. Yet the flimsiness of the accusations and the lack of corroborating evidence, witnesses, or frankly any proof whatsoever makes this look like the pathetic smear job it likely is. The New Yorker recently published a story in which a former Yale student, Deborah Ramirez, claimed classmate Brett Kavanaugh exposed himself to her at a drunken party when they were both freshmen. In a clear lack of bad faith, the Democrats continue to stall with their wild and salacious accusations, rooting through Kavanaugh's closet for any skeleton, real or imagined, to use against him in an effort to prevent or even just delay his confirmation until after the 2018 midterm elections to be held in November 2018. Even the mainstream media propaganda machine is doubting the veracity of these wild, out-of-left-field claims. Where did the corroborating witness get the information from? He remembers it from he was in the same dorm, and he remembers it clearly. But did he see it? No. As I have said, he heard it from someone who was there. The Washington Post said nah. NBC News took a look and said, thanks but no thanks. The New York Times even worked the story for a week before giving up. Long before the New Yorker published the story on Sunday in which a former Yale student, Deborah Ramirez, claimed classmate Brett Kavanaugh sexually accosted her at a drunken party 35 years ago, news organizations had heard of and looked into the rumors. On Sunday, in a story headlined Blasey Ford reaches deal to testify at Kavanaugh hearing about another accuser who claims Kavanaugh held her down at a drunken high school party, the New York Times buried this paragraph about Ramirez. The Times had interviewed several dozen people over the past week in an attempt to corroborate her story, and could find no one with first-hand knowledge. Ms. Ramirez herself contacted former Yale classmates asking if they recalled the incident and told some of them that she could not be certain Mr. Kavanaugh was the one who exposed himself. So the Times passed, as did the others, according to reports. Kavanaugh himself chose to break his silence on Fox News in an interview with Martha MacCallum. Appearing alongside his wife, Ashley Estes Kavanaugh, Kavanaugh stated that he will not be intimidated into withdrawing his Supreme Court nomination and staunchly denying the accusations. He referred to them a grotesque and obvious character assassination and a coordinated effort to drive him out on the nomination. This is the first time Mrs. Kavanaugh has spoken publicly about the accusations against her husband and how their two daughters are dealing with this very difficult time for their family. She states that she has never doubted her husband's denial of the more than 2 decades-old allegations of sexual assault currently being levied against him. Mrs. Kavanaugh states, "This process is incredibly difficult. Harder than we imagined, and we imagined it might be hard. But, at the end of the day our faith is strong. We know we are on the right path. We will stick to it." She adds that she never doubted her husband's denials, saying, "I have known him for 17 years. This is not at all, it's really hard to believe. He is decent, kind, good. I know his heart. This is not consistent with Brett." Kavanaugh is scheduled to testify before the Judiciary Committee on Thursday alongside his accuser Dr. Blasey Ford. And the tension in D.C. continues to ratchet up as activists and members of the so-called resistance make it clear they will stop at nothing to stop Kavanaugh's confirmation, as Senator Ted Cruz TXR and his wife were verbally assaulted and heckled by a group of protesters at a D.C. restaurant Monday night while trying to eat. Cruz has been a staunch supporter of Kavanaugh. Breaking. Activists just chased Ted Cruz out of a fancy Washington, D.C. restaurant, chanting "We believe survivors." Cruz has been friends with Creep Kavanaugh for 20 years. Now Cruz is on Judiciary Committee hearing his testimony. Fascists not welcome. At one point the activists blocked Cruz's wife from exiting the restaurant while chanting "We believe survivors." This prompted Senator Cruz to emphatically and in no uncertain terms ask them to let my wife through. At one point a woman claiming to be a survivor of a sexual assault herself approached Senator Cruz and his wife while flanked by her backup chanters and hecklers, demanding to discuss Kavanaugh. Sexual assault survivor questioned Cruz during disruption at fancy Washington, D.C. restaurant. Cruz ignores her. She stated, "I know that you are very close friends with Mr. Kavanaugh. Do you believe survivors, sir?" "We believe survivors. Senator, I have a right to know what your position is on Brett Kavanaugh. I am a survivor of sexual assault. There are now 3 people that have come forward and said that Brett Kavanaugh attacked them. Have you talked to him about that?"